Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a simulation video for Cambridge English Second Language Exam 0991 or 090511. First, we will start with a short warm-up where I will ask you some questions to find out more about you. This part is not assessed. After the warm-up, there are 3 assessed parts to the test: an interview, a short talk, and a discussion. So, let's start with the warm-up. What do you and your family enjoy doing together?
Me and my family really enjoy taking walks together. We are a pretty active family, so we really like to take walks together and genuinely just be around each other's presence, no matter what we're doing. And we also like to play lots of board games with each other. We're pretty competitive, so we also really like that. And also watching movies, but that doesn't frequently happen since we either get strayed or distracted and we don't end up watching the movie.
What kind of job would you like to do in the future?
I'm torn between either being a cardiovascular surgeon or I go towards the field of obstetrician and gynecology.
And what kind of music do you like listening to?
I'm not much a music person, actually. However, I've been getting really into jazz. I really like jazz, and just classic pop music is always a classic to me, and it always helps me enjoy my time.
The first assessed part of the test is an interview. I'm going to ask you some questions about your day. Okay. Try to say as much as you can for each question. Before we start, do you have any question?
No.
All right. Can you tell me about what you do in a normal school day?
In a normal school day, all right, so I wake up, of course, and I start getting ready for school. I'm the first one who wakes up, not my parents, not my other sibling. I'm the first one who wakes up. And after I finish getting ready and preparing everything, I then wake my parents up. Then I wake my siblings up to help them get dressed, since I have younger siblings, so I always help them get dressed and help them pack their bags and everything. And I go to school walking, since I live pretty close to school. Also, I like the walk first thing in the morning. It helps refreshing me up for class.
Yeah.
And I go to school, take my usual classes and everything. And then I go home and I eat. Then
Can you tell me about a busy weekend you had and what you did?
a busy weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So I had 2 MUN conferences, Friday and Saturday. And I was up all night Thursday preparing what I'm going to say and the debate and all possible questions I could be asked about the topic and everything. The conference lasted from 7 a.m. all until 7 p.m.
Wow.
So, yes, it was pretty tiring. However, it all came for a good cause, and I ended up winning. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Do you think that it is better to study late in the evening or early in the morning?
Early in the morning, I believe that you would be too busy, since you might have just woken up, or you're waiting to eat, or you just have you're tired or errands to run. However, late at night, mostly everyone's asleep and the ambiance is really calm, so you can sit down and devote yourself to studying only.
All right. The second assessed part of the test is a short talk. I will give you a card and you will have 1 minute to read it and think about what you want to say. You should talk about the points on the card. You can't make any written notes, but you can ask me if there is anything you do not understand. You may keep the card until the end of the short talk. This card has the title Clothes. Some of your favorite clothes are worn or damaged. You are considering the following options: mending your clothes or buying new ones. Talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each option. Say which option you would prefer and why. Of course, in a real exam situation, the examiner wouldn't read the content, but I'm just reading it for clarification for the audience. Now you have 1 minute sharp. You now have up to 2 minutes to talk about the topic on the card. I will stop you after 2 minutes, but do not worry if you have not finished your talk. Would you like to start?
Yes.
Please.
I'll start with the advantages of mending your clothes. It's very helpful, of course, because you learn new skills. You know how to mend your clothes and everything. And it will also help you focus because you have to focus on the stitch and how to fix it, how to make it seem as new and brand new or better than ever. As well as mending your clothes, it helps if you are not as financially capable of buying new clothes. Yeah. So this also helps. And it could expand your creativity because rather than mending it, you can totally change it. It's the same piece of fabric, however, you can totally change it up to however you'd like to style it next or how you want to deal with it next. However, the disadvantages would be that you might hurt yourself if you're using sharp tools. And as well as mending your clothes, it might make you get a little bit frustrated since you try and try, however, it doesn't really work or the vision that's in your head doesn't like portray the same. So it might get you a little bit frustrated. Also, you might not mend it correctly and you end up ruining the entire thing and you can't mend it again unless by a professional, which nerfs the whole idea of financial capabilities. Buying new clothes, however, of course, there are many advantages, such as you widen your range of clothes. Your style could change since your style perfects your personality. So this will help you like preview yourself to people. However, of course, one of the main disadvantages of buying new clothes is the financial capabilities. You might not be as able to buy those clothes again. And the part that you're trying to mend, you might have bought it for a certain amount, and when you come and buy it again, it's a totally different amount and it's way higher.
All right. Thank you very much. Can I have the card back, please? Now, let's move on to part 3 of the test. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions related to the topic you've just talked about. This part of the test will last approximately 3 minutes. Before we start, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Should families always go on holiday together?
I believe that going on holidays with your family is important.
Why?
However, okay. Since it's a time to connect really with your family. When you are in your home, you can't not connect as much. Everyone's in their room, everyone has work to do. So a vacation or a holiday is important for you to actually connect and get to know your family members. However, not always should you go with your family members. Sometimes people need a vacation alone to try and think for themselves and figure out who they are and what they like.
Yes.
And also going with your friends could be a change since there's a difference between how you act with your family and how you act with your friends. So you might miss how you act with your friends more and you want to like stray a bit and have a little bit more fun and be more outrageous. So it's beneficial to go with your family. However, it should be evened out with being alone and with your friends.
Is spending time in nature the best way to relax?
Depends on who the person is. Some people really prefer to like sit in nature and relax and like just see God's creation in hand and truly calm down. However, some people might get nervous. They might start to feel anxious whether there will be bugs or anything around, or how they're not really used to that wild life. Even if it's not as wild, it could be wild to them. So they can't live without internet, or they can't live without like certain facilities that they have accumulated into their lifestyle.
Some people say that tourists spoil the cities they visit. Do you agree?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Some people say that tourists spoil the cities they visit. Do you agree?
I believe that tourism is important for like the country's economic situation. However, sometimes when the tourists are too much, it might not be as good because they don't know like the value of the place that they are in. So they might spoil it, not intentionally. However, they might like spread the news too much for everyone to come and visit, and then like it's too many people, and that could ruin the monument itself, whether it's actual physical damage or it's meaningful damage. So of course tourism is very important, however it should have a limit.
Do you think it is better to get to know your own country before you travel to other countries?
Yes, of course. How are
Why?
you? Because when you go to another countries, you are going to be happy whether you like it or not, because it's different and you get to like be very excited. However, you start to realize that you start to pinpoint some different aspects that are in those country and in your own home country. Start to say, oh, this is better than in my country. I prefer this more than in my country. And you start to decrease the value of your country. And you should not forget that this is like your homeland, where you were born or where you were from or you were ethnically from. So you should really get to know the value of your own country before deciding to see the value of other countries.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the test. Now, let's give you the evaluation. Cambridge English as Second Language Speaking tests are out of 40, in which students receive 10 marks for grammar, 10 marks for vocabulary, 10 marks for development of ideas, and 10 marks for pronunciation. And in each of the generic marking criteria, you've successfully scored 10 out of 10. And that's a total of 40 out of 40. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.
Bye-bye.